Welcome back. Now, youth empowerment is a topic that is often discussed, particularly in terms of government policies, NGO programs, and mentorship from the older generation. But a very important question to ask as well is, how are the young people supporting their fellow young people when it comes to sharing skills and creating opportunities and offering things like peer mentorship? So now with us in the studio this morning to give more insight on this is Miss Ifesinachinwebo. She is the Executive Director of the Youth Being Initiative. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Now, young people face a lot of challenges when it comes to things like unemployment, limited access to resources, and a number of other things. Now, in your view, how would you say that peer-to-peer support in empowerment or empowering young people compared to government or institutional efforts?
Okay, I think we're making progress so far because there are a lot of initiatives that are coming up or that have been existing before now, maybe for a few years, that are encouraging peer-to-peer mentorship, that are encouraging skill transfer, that are encouraging skill acquisition and entrepreneurship. So I think that we're making progress, but I think that there's still more, right, to do or to achieve when it comes to, you know, peer-to-peer mentorship, because one of the things about youth empowerment, the first focus should be education, right? And in the youth policy that, you know, that was released by the Ministry of Youth and Sports few days ago, the first focus on the document was education, right? So I think that we're making progress, and there's still much more to explore.
All right. Can you tell us a bit about Youth Being Initiative, if I'm correct, and what made you start focusing on, youth-to-youth empowerment?
Okay, safe to say that I'm a young person.
Okay.
So, I think that there's so much. I think the future is Africa, and I think the future of Africa is Nigeria, and I also think that the future of Nigeria is the youth. So boiling down from the youth, the young people, building capacity, because I feel like that's where our potential is. And somebody said that Africa is like a gun and Nigeria is the trigger, right? Mm-hmm. So why the Youth Being Initiative, right? The Youth Being Initiative just started when I was I hadn't even gotten into school at the time, but I just knew I had a passion for young people and I could write. It actually started as a blog initially, okay. So it wasn't a full-blown organization. And I just started writing about things around leadership, self-identity, because I'm passionate about helping young people discover their potential. We have a lot of young people moving around, taking jobs, and they're still they don't know themselves. They don't know why they're doing what they're doing. And everybody's just hustling and trying to survive. So I believe that a life of fulfillment is the key. Whatever you're doing, it has to start from a place of purpose. So that is, the focal point. Then I was writing a lot on my blog, and then by 2021, we evolved into an organization. We began to go to secondary schools, and currently we are running the second edition of the Spark Academy, which is a 1-month boot camp for secondary school leavers. So the bridge between leaving secondary school and getting into the university, the Youth Being helps these ones understand purpose, leadership, goal setting, and all of that. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, back looking at how youth support youth. Now, we have a lot of situations where you see a young person who is doing well in a particular sector, maybe entrepreneurship or, whatever. And you ask the person, how did you do this? How are you able to, can you just walk me? And they're like, oh, well, you just have to pray to God, or, they just tell you something that is so vague and so, so I would like to know, how can young people support their peers in building sustainable businesses and creating opportunities for them?
I think it has to start from the point of that young person seeing beyond themselves, right? I mean, if all is in my head is to just succeed and be successful, and not minding who is coming before me or who is coming behind me, I don't think empowerment would be in the person's mind, right? But if this person wants to build something beyond them, impact basically, right? The person would have a consciousness of intentionally raising other people, and that's where mentorship comes in. And I believe mentorship, starts with you first, right? And you being willing to share that, to other people. First things first, that person must be impact driven, must want to help or the younger generation come up. So talking, saying is the grace of God and all of and all of that. It's actually the grace of God, but practically, I think we should young people that are up there should be open to mentoring other people that are coming up, because we are a lot. They are a lot.
All right. In communities where cultural norms and the likes limit girls' participation and marginalization of, example, people with disabilities, how do you measure that? How do you make sure that everybody is included?
I think that there are organizations that are focused on these, particular people that are disabled, or that have disabilities. I think is to bring them into those rooms, into the table, and have these conversations with them. And I know that we're getting a hang of it, including them in when we're, building auditoriums and all of that, for them to be able to access knowledge. Because take, for instance, we have a hall, that does not have a place where wheelchair can come into the hall. So how is the person going to be able to attend those kind of conferences? So I think that we're getting a hang of it. I mean, in Enugu, I've seen quite a number of conferences give rooms for conference rooms, rather give rooms for that. So inclusion is non-negotiable. So we have to be able to include them in what we are doing.
Okay, speaking on inclusion, do you think in Nigeria that the youth are politically included with what's going on?
Yes, I think the youth are not exactly included. The youths are fighting to be included.
Oh.
Do you understand? And I think that we're starting to do that, and it's a step in the right direction. Because if we don't speak up, they won't want to listen. They won't. In fact, there are no rooms there, to be honest, for young people. In political area and all of that, because they don't want, they don't want young people to come in, and because we have dreams, we have ideas, we have a lot of things we want to explore, and they are not open to that. So they would rather keep you out of the room than bring you in. So I think that youths are fighting, and that's a good place to start.
But looking at the fights, do you think that fight is something that would yield results in the nearest future? Because I mean, looking back at NSAS, that was a huge movement, and at the end of the day, it just went down. And there have been other, there was the End Bad Governance as well. There have been a lot of both big and small ones that just went off like that. So do you really think that the fight that the youths are fighting is actually making any kind of impact or change?
Okay, you cited, the protest, and while all of those things are good, I think the youth needs to be strategic, right? Beyond coming out protesting, shouting, all of those things, they made their own difference when it did. But I think we should learn from that, the fact that just like you said, after all of those force, it died down. But when we are strategic, when we gather data, when we do research, and then try research advocacy, walk into these rooms, gain positions in these places, because that's how you do advocacy, right? There's the place of protest and all of that, but there's also the place of research and data-driven change. If we want to change a particular place or sphere or influence, right, we have to be able to take positions, enter these spheres by ourselves, and not just speak from outside, but let's begin to enter, into these rooms through positions, but little by little. I think we're going to get there.
Yes. All right. So many critics would say that some of these youth empowerment programs are just for the cameras. They are short-term, and then some of these organizations that they create a room or expectations that they cannot sustain. Is that the case for the Youth Initiative program? Your initiative.
I wouldn't
I
wouldn't say that. And I remember that I said that we're currently on a 1-month boot camp. So what we're doing is we're doing a pre-assessment and a post-assessment, right? And what that means is before the academy started, we took a data from the students, what is where they are, right? And after the program, like next week we're going to be done, we're going to take a post-assessment from them to know the impact of this program, and then how we're going to create systems, to sustain it, because one of the idea of the 1-month bootcamp is mentorship, right? And I don't know a lot of them, but I think some conferences, some can be for the camera, just to let it be that, okay, we did conference, join us, everybody wear their suits, look corporate, snap, and that's the end. But I believe that beyond that, there should be systems that would sustain whatever it is that has been gotten. And you start by being intentional even before you plan the project, right? Every project should have a purpose, a goal. And if we are just doing it because, okay, I just want, let it just be recorded that I hosted a conference, then I don't think it's a good mindset, or,
Yes, now speaking on sustainability, there is this idea that one of the challenges that young people face is being able to stay focused on one thing, right? There is this need to focus on so many things, yes. And after that initial excitement of wanting to do 1,000,001 things, it just fizzles out, and then we're back to square one. So what do you have to say about that? Is that the case? Would you say that is how it is for most young people, or would you say it is just that exuberance or that youthful, I don't know, yes.
I think that that's the case. Like normally, like when you're a young person, there's a desire to do a lot of things, explore a lot of things. I mean, we even find our parents telling us, don't do this, don't go here, don't stay at home. We always want to explore and do. So I think that's what comes with youth age, being a youth. But that's where mentorships should come in. And when I was on the show last week Saturday, I was talking about how parents should go beyond just being parents to being mentors, right? Because mentorship should start from there, so that you see that, okay, this child is, this is how this child is. Then and no child is the same, right? So find a way to help that child get them to understand the things that really matter on time. Do you understand? So that even if that person is outgoing, there are people that are outgoing, and some people think that they are too much, and all of that. But that's just the way that person is. But if you're able to put some measures in place, which is what mentorship should do, that person can utilize that particular skill well enough. So youthful exuberance is something, or, trying to explore things is okay. But when it is not being, curtailed and all of that, it can be a problem.
But bringing it down to youth-led initiatives,
yes.
Or like you mentioned before, conferences or people wear, dress up, look nice, take pictures, and that's the end. Most of these youth-led initiatives as well comes with that initial excitement of, oh, I want to do this. Okay, we've done the first one, we've done the second one. And after that, you also find situations where people start to drop out, people start to give excuses, people start to lose interest. It's like the initial excitement has worn out. So how would you say that young people can support each other to keep these projects alive even after the initial excitement has worn out? Accountability,
right? If we're accountable to ourselves, if we're accountable to people that we also look up to, right? I find that a lot of we fancy mentorship, young people. Yeah. I might want to, and that's usually because they like what they are seeing. Right, I really like you, I want you to mentor me, and in 1 month you'll be looking for the person that is supposed to be mentored. So I think it's a personal decision as a young person to say that I want to be able to be accountable to someone, right? And I noticed that many great people are accountable people, right? So you cannot go on a path of success without being accountable. If you can do anything when you want to do it, how you like to do it, then you're not really living. That's freedom. It's not freedom per se. So I think it's submitting yourself to mentorship and accountability. That's the way to do that.
All right. Now, speaking on what you just said, that the youth like exploring, and we've had cases of millions of Nigerians trying to travel abroad, for better opportunities. I just want to understand, how can this youth-led initiative create alternatives at home that can compete with the urge of trying to migrate?
No matter what you do, anybody that wants to live will still live, right? So, but I think there are great initiatives in Nigeria that if you want to get, skills, if you want to get mentored, and that's one of the vision that we have for the youth being, right? That we, train young people to be purposeful first. Because what happens that we want to leave, I believe that if there's an opportunity for me to travel and do my masters and all of that, I will, right? But I still have a sense of duty for Nigeria and Africa, right? So if young persons can catch that, I think you don't have to literally tell them don't go. They feel that sense of duty. So youth-led organizations are on the rise. They are everywhere. And if you get plugged in, into one, you can make a good use of your time, right? And develop yourself and give yourselves to your learning and mentorship. Like I said, if a young person wants to be around, stay around, and cause a change in their country and in our Africa continent, they will, no matter the opportunity outside. I'm not saying you should leave opportunities outside. You can go and come back. Yes.
Okay, now let's look at the issue of competition. Now, as young people, most young people are very competitive, and there is this thing, particularly with social media, when you see your age mates doing a lot of big things, and you look at yourself and you find that you're not where they are, and you want to be there, or it fosters this competition or this competitive spirit, both positively and negatively. So what can be done to build a culture of cooperation as opposed to rivalry? Because we find in most cases it's now an issue of I want to get this before you do, I want to achieve this before you do, instead of cooperating to achieve a common goal. So how can that be managed?
At the core of it, because competition is just something on the surface, but beneath that is a need for validation, a need to prove a point. And I usually tell young people, why do you think you need to prove a point? Why do you think you need to always be the one that we are seeing, right? Beneath that is, low self-esteem, lack of identity, lack of self-awareness, lack of self-contentment. So I think dealing with that would solve the rise in competition, and we all know that collaboration is the way forward. What you have, I don't have, I may not have. What I have, you may not have. And the way we can achieve the larger picture, the larger vision, is to do it together, right? And we just have to be content with what we have at where we are, right? Mm-hmm. And appreciate another person for what they have and where they are, and see how working together can work. So at the core of it, how you can work on yourself first. Why do you think you need to compete, right? Deal with that first. It's an internal thing. It's not something that can be done externally. So you have to sit with yourself and ask yourself, why do you think you need to prove a point? And that from there you see that you're more collaborative more than competitive.
All right. We've actually seen cases where Nigerian youth, or rather entire youth in Africa, have this get-rich-quick syndrome, and then it's part of the challenges that we're facing, I believe. And then some of them find themselves being depressed. And like she said, educational, barrier is part of the challenges. What other challenges do you think an African youth is facing, and what is the way forward?
Okay, aside from the money issue, so I mean,
You can also, dwell around the money issue.
okay, yes. The academy we're currently teaching. We've been teaching money this week actually, and we've gotten a lot of responses. And there's that tendency, I just want to make money. Most of them, at a young age, they're actually fending for themselves, right? The challenges are from the family unit. Do you understand? Expecting that a 15-year-old child should find their way. How? Do you understand? So it starts from the family, the parents, and the values that they get from there. Then we talk about, societal issues like unemployment and all of that. All of those things are challenges that we are faced with. But I believe that out of every challenge, there's solution. There's solution. And when we begin to look beyond the challenges and begin to ask, okay, how, and that's how the youth being started. How can I contribute my quota? I may not reach the how many millions of young people in Nigeria, but how do I start from where I am? And that's how it is. That's how I started. So the challenges are there, but you must look beyond the challenges and that's where resilience comes in, consistency comes in. All of those skills, you need them to be able to thrive against all odds, because people that have made it have also made it beyond, even with the challenges, right? So we must not be discouraged.
But then most Nigerians will tell you, oh, madam, you are speaking English. Which one is resilience? What can you actually use to dissolve that get-rich-quick syndrome? And, what have you? What is the major metrics to dissolving it?
The major metrics would be, what can you do now, right? Like start a business, do something, right? If you feel like you need money, there are other better ways to make money. It must not, it will be slow, nobody's disputing that fact. It will be slow, but you have to make a personal decision. There's a mantra that we taught them at the academy. We said, I won't steal, I won't kill, I won't rob anybody, but I will never be poor, right? So it's a mindset thing. If you think that the only option you have is Yahoo, then it's your mindset. It can't be the only option. If you think the only option is to sell your body, then it's a mindset. It can't be. It is not. Because other people have been faced with similar challenges and they came out, and still did something very noble. So the idea is, don't get your hands dirty because you want to get money. Because eventually when you get the money, you try to make your hands clean and you can't.
All right. Now, before we let you go, what role do you think that partnerships with institutions like schools, businesses, or NGO, what role do you think that they play in addressing youth-to-youth empowerment efforts?
We can't do without them, because I've noticed that government can't do it alone. They try, but they can't. So I think collaboration with schools, organizations, NGOs are going to make it a little bit faster. So the curriculum, the teacher development, all of those things are very important ways that government can come in and say, okay, how can you contribute to this develop? This is what we have in mind. What can you give? What can your institution give? Institution collaboration is non-negotiable, and I think it's a good way to start for development.
All right. Lastly, before we leave, how does your initiative, get funding, and what policy would you request from the government in order to push youth empowerment and the likes?
Okay. The Youth Bring gets funding from her partners. We have people that believe in the vision and are willing to put in their money there, right? They're not a lot, right? But we're making do with what we have, right? People want to have the whole money before they set out to do stuff. But I've learned that you cannot have all of the money before you set out to do what you want to do. So we're doing what we can with what we have. However, the government can encourage young people, youth-led initiatives, call them, get them to understand what is the change, because the change is everybody's change. The development is the problem is our problem, right? So I should be able to partner with the government and say, this is the problem I want to solve? How can you partner or come into the picture? I know this is also in your agenda, right? But let us be your legs. Just, support, where you can, because I know that government can be swamped with a lot of projects to execute. So that's basically what I can say. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Ife Sinachi Nwebo,
Yes,
right?
yes.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on Signature Morning. And that is where we draw the line on that conversation concerning youth helping youth and youth empowerment. Thank you so much for joining us. And coming up next is our conversation. Do stay with us.